Alright guys, well we're out here in the garage. It's not as cold as it normally is, so I wanted to get these injectors out for a buddy of mine. So I got first one off. These are just 80 pounders. There's the first one. Some of my clips, or the pigtails, don't have that little safety clip on it. So, whatever. But here's the first one. 7 more to go. Gonna swap in the 210s and see how it goes with those injector spacers. I'll post back when I get all these out. Alright, zip those 4 bolts out, pull those 4 nylon spacers out, and basically I have the rails unbolted. I'm going to leave the fuel lines attached, and these things should be ready to pull at this point. So again, I have all the pigtails unclipped from the injectors themselves on both sides, and I have the bolts and the spacers pulled, and I also have released the pressure via the Schrader valve right there and these rails to hopefully not make a mess and end up going back inside smelling like gas, which is kind of annoying because it stays on you for a couple days. So anyways, I'm gonna pull these rails off and pull these injectors out. Alright, I will post a progress video when I pull these out. Oh, so much for not stinking like gas. I got the rails off, loosened anyways, and basically just puking gas everywhere. I thought I could do it without stinking myself up, but I was wrong. I was poorly mistaken. Anyways, let me get these rails off and these injectors out of the intake, and we'll take a look at them. Okay, so rails are off. Injectors are all, well, the ones that stayed in the intake I plugged back in to try to keep gas not from puking out everywhere. I had to disconnect this feed just because it's short and I couldn't extend it, or I couldn't get the rails off. So now I just have the throttle cable to contend with here. So let me just Tetris this out of the way. Alright, there we go. So the rails are off, and now I can pull these out, clean them up, and get them off to their new owner. And in the meantime, I'll prep the other injectors and jam them in. So let me pull these out, get the other ones set up, put those in, and we'll take a look at how they look and compare it to these. Okay, so injectors are out. Here on the left-hand side is a genuine Deca 80, and on the right side is a Bosch 210. You can see the size difference, and then that's where this adapter hat comes in place. So we will lube these up, jam them on, and then see how the 210 compares size-wise to the Deca 80. Okay, so we got the injectors and the adapters together. I like to use a little bit of petroleum jelly on the O-rings so they don't roll or tear. It's just something I've always done in all my cars, so whether it's right, wrong, whatever, I use it just so it doesn't cause an issue with the O-rings. Like I said, here are the 80 pounders, and we can put 2 side by side, and you could see that there is a tiny bit of height difference. Hopefully that won't cause too much of an issue when I go to install them. I've heard from a couple different people that I won't need spacers, but we will see. So let me take these over, get them situated, and we'll see what happens once I get the rails together. Okay, so nothing out of the ordinary here. The adapters just go into the rails, and the injector goes into the adapter, obviously, put them in as one unit, and it is a little bit of a snug fit, so I do suggest putting something to lubricate the O-rings on there. And now I just need to flip it over and get them into the intake and then snug them down. And like I said, hopefully I don't have to do any type of weird spacing. I know Matt told me that I guess depending on the spacer, you don't even, or the adapter, you don't even need a spacer. So I'm kind of crossing my fingers here, there, and hoping I don't need them. So let me get this situated and we'll check it out. Alright, so got everything, got the rails back on, got the injectors and the intake, and this is what we have. I pushed them down to snug them up. Haven't bolted the rails down yet, but you can see that the injector is seated into the intake, and it looks like I might be able to get away without any type of spacing, depending on how much this plastic moves. Can see there that there is a little bit of a gap, say maybe 1/8 of an inch, but I might just be able to snug those down and not have to run a spacer, so we'll see. But everything's snugged in, everything's pushed in anyways, I should say, and it looks like the injectors are good to go. Get the fuel line hooked back up and reroute some of these harnesses and everything. But that's the injector install, and I'll make a report back if I end up having to do any type of spacing or whatever for these rails, but it doesn't look like I'll have to. So like I said, if I do, I will report back with what I used. But for now, those are the 210s installed for the E85 conversion on the Volvo. Looks like it was pretty straightforward as usual. Just wanted to do a little step-by-step on how I did it. Alright guys, thanks. Okay, so it looks like I'm going to throw an 1/8 or a 1/4 inch spacer in there after all. No big deal, I just don't want to reef down on those injectors and bust something. So I'll just throw a small spacer or a washer in there just to take up that extra room. But that's pretty much the install of the 210s for E85 swap. Next I'm going to pull the gas tank out, have that modified, and throw a pair of 450s in the tank. So once I get that process started, I will report back with more video footage and walk you through that as well. Alright guys, thanks. Again, like, comment, and subscribe. Have a good one.